Hey, everybody, if you are watching me live or on the replay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comments below, ask questions, all of that. Even if you are on the replay, I will definitely answer your questions later on. So welcome. Today, we are all talking about your strategy to becoming a high-level leader. I'm Kristen Crockett. I'm an executive and intuitive leadership coach, and I am here to help you understand how to become a high-level leader. So let's talk about this strategy, because the majority of people are going to tell you, oh, you definitely need to work on assignments that you don't necessarily want to work on, but that are going to give you visibility, or you need to know what your weaknesses are so that you can ramp those up. I'm going to give you a completely different framework because I'm a completely different coach. So let's kind of jump in and talk about it. When we talk about being a CEO or an executive leader, every single CEO runs their organization vastly differently from the person next to them. Okay. So every CEO is very different. Every chief people officer is very different, right? So let's talk about that for a second, because what happens is that we get conditioned to believe that we have to lead in the way that the people next to us lead. It happens all of the time that we have to do things the way that other people do them. And what that lends itself to is inauthentic leadership. You are leading in a way that does not feel right and good for you. So, in terms of getting to executive leadership, in terms of being an effective executive leader, let's talk about that framework. So, the first thing is that all CEOs create a vision, right? They create a vision for their organization. They are tasked with creating a strategic plan that helps to carry that out to fulfill the mission of that organization. But the way that the CEO or the president of Pepsi does this versus the CEO of Google, this is going to be a completely different way because they're different people. They are managing different organizations. Okay. So I'm going to talk about myself for a second. So I invested in a lot of different things, whether that was therapy or executive coaching or programs. But the framework that everyone gives you leaves out the X factor, which is you. So we can say that, X plus Y equals success. X plus Y equals becoming an executive leader. However, we're leaving out you. We are leaving out how you do things. And that is the most important thing here, is understanding how you are different, how you lead in a very unique way. And that is a whole process of understanding who you are as a leader. So, how I work best is not going to be how you work best. For me, if I have, let's say I have a presentation to give, I'm going to spend a few days really just thinking about it. Whereas somebody else might be like pen and paper immediately. They're going to take their outline, they're going to fill it out. For me, it's different. I have to kind of sit with it. I might plan something out, and then maybe the next day I might get a different idea that changes something. So I want to go back and kind of shift that a little bit. Or I might give a presentation to one group and say, you know what? I want to tweak this area a little bit. Let's shift that. So I'm all about moving and ebbing and flowing in the middle of creating. That's my creative process. And sometimes that outline or that idea may not even hit me until right before it's time to go on. That is my creative process. I definitely need time to, it needs time to come to me. That may not be how you create presentations, but that's how I do it. And I know that that system works for me. I also might run it by people and say, what do you think about this? Or how would you answer this? That's me. And so you have to figure out, in terms of giving presentations for people, because that's a whole part of executive leadership, but how does that work for you? How do you do things? And not just in presentations, but how you do things in every single aspect of leadership. Okay. So let's jump into the first one, which is understanding what are the things that are preventing you from elevating into that executive mindset. Okay. Because we have becoming an executive leader, but there's also the mindset, because I work with plenty of executives who have the title. However, they are still operating as though they were managers or directors because they haven't stepped into being an executive. So, how do you do that? You really do have to look at what are the things that are preventing you from moving forward. And that may be experiences, that might be emotions, that might be beliefs that you have. So if you don't believe that you are worthy of the opportunity, and that all of a sudden you just found yourself here and someone has tapped you on the shoulder to say, hey, definitely apply for this program, or, we want to promote you to this position. If you're not really feeling like you are worthy of it, that is what we deal with confidence. And confidence, I can tell you, for every single executive leader, confidence is a part of this process. It's a part of this process. There are always going to be times where you doubt something. And that's important for us to understand, that everybody goes through it. But it's understanding, what are those experiences? What are the things that are preventing you from making it to that executive mindset where you need to be? Okay. So it very well could be that you've been a hard worker your entire life. You have been independent, highly independent your entire life. There weren't that many people around to really help you. And so you did it all by yourself. And so now you feel that you have to do everything all by yourself. Well, that doesn't lend itself to a team and to leading a team. So we have to really understand the root of that. Where did that come from, so that you can actually be aware of it, connect the dots, and release that in order to move on. Okay. So that's the first thing, is really disrupting the narrative of who you believe that you are, so that you can make it to this next level, this higher level, this growth mindset, this executive mindset that says, I am definitely worthy of this opportunity, of this experience, and I'm ready to step into it fully. Okay. So the next one is understanding what is impacting your results. What's impacting your results? Because we have a lot of unconscious beliefs that are floating around that we don't even know about. And it really requires an outside person to be able to help bring that to the surface, so that you understand how that is impacting your performance. Okay. Are impacting the way that other people see you. Because that's what I see a lot of times in the workplace, is that how we see ourselves is completely different from the way that other people see us. So we always have a situation where I will be talking with someone's manager, and they are really just saying all of these wonderful things about this particular person. But when I talk to that person, they are downplaying it. Or when we do a 360 evaluation, they are giving themselves the worst scores. So it is really understanding what we need to release and let go of, so that you see yourself the way that other people see you. And then next, it is interrupting the patterns. What are the patterns that are continuing to be present with you, that are impacting you from moving to this next level, right? So a lot of times, again, other people can see it, but you can't. So I'm here to help you understand the patterns and the beliefs that are preventing you from making it to that next level, or from fully embodying that next level, even if you're already there. And then we're going to talk about change, because this is not just about making a change in the workplace. This is also for you understanding how to navigate emotions, how to manage your emotions, how to manage energy on your team. This is all of that, so that you can understand how you are impacting the people around you, and also how you are positively impacting the people around you, right? So, what is it? What are your gifts that you bring to the team? What are the gifts that you bring to the team, and how can you motivate other people? How do you activate other people? How do you mobilize other people to get the job done? Because as an executive leader, it's really your job to create that vision for people and to not do their work for them, but it's really to go from being the doer to the leader. How do you lead work? How do you get people from this place to this place and help support them on the way to get there, right? So, how are you leading work? Not necessarily doing all of the work, but you are leading the work. Okay. You've got your own set of things that you are doing, but you also have to be responsible for delegating work to other people and making sure that they get it done so that collectively the whole department and organization moves forward. Okay. So a lot of this is also understanding strategy and understanding how to create a strategy that is going to work with your team, that you're going to be able to take them from this place to this place with an effective strategy, right? That has the complete beginning, middle, and end. And they understand their part in that as well. Okay. And then it's also understanding about your skills. What are the skills that you need to expand? Okay. So when we talk about expansion, that is, understanding that leadership always starts from within. Let me say that again. Leadership always starts from within. It cannot just be about the skills that you don't have. You have to go back and follow these other steps of understanding yourself, how you do things, your energy, your capacity. All of this is super important to really start on the inside. What's impacting you, your beliefs, before we also get to the skills. What are the skills that you need to expand to take you to this next level? So, for example, if you are a person who is responsible for raising money and you've been taught that money was the root of all evil, that you don't like necessarily talking about money, or in your home, people didn't talk about money, then how are you going to raise money when it's something that you are uncomfortable with? Okay. How are you going to be responsible for working and making sure that your department makes money if you are uncomfortable with the conversation around money? So, we're also going to talk about your money story. What are those beliefs that you think about money that are preventing you from really doing the best at your specific job? And that lends itself to how you're going to embrace the terminology. As an executive leader, you've got to know all the different terms that come with discussing money, discussing finances, understanding the budget. And so you really have to be comfortable with that in order to really sit in the executive position. Super important for you. Okay. Um, so the next thing, and I see Nia and Lindsay, thank you so much for joining me. So let's see. Nia says she loves this, and Lindsay says micromanagement is a workflow disaster. You're spot on. Absolutely. And let's actually, Lindsay, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, because I see this for so many executive leaders. Um, People have a hard time giving their supervisor or anybody else that they work for feedback, because that's a power dynamic issue. So I'm going to say it for you. If you're an executive leader that is listening to this, or you are wanting to grow into executive leadership, Super important that you understand that you allow people to do their jobs in the way that works best for them. I always say that 2 plus 4 equals 6, but so does 3 plus 3. So does 5 plus 1, right? So does 6 plus 0. There are so many different ways that we can allow people to do their jobs without jumping in and making sure that, like, oh, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Right? So an effective executive leader paints a vision for the people, tells people, exactly the part that they want them to play in it, and then allows them to do the work in the way that they want to do it. Okay. If there are specifics that they need to follow, then you provide them with those guidelines. Like, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. This has to happen. Maybe there's a grant that you have to fulfill where these two things have to happen. But other than that, allow people to do things in the way that works best for them. So I'll give you an example. For me, when I was actually hired to create a year-long program for leaders of color, who were interested in growing into the executive suite or to the C-suite, of course, you have to get references. And one of my references called me and she said, "This is what I told them, and I wanted you to know this, that the best thing for you when working with Kristen is to allow her to, like, you tell her exactly what you want to happen and then let her do her thing." And that is what works best for me is, if I have questions, I'm going to come to you. But for the most part, I'm going to get it done from start to finish. And I need the space, the breathing room in order to get that done. And so for you, you have to understand how each one of your team members, how they actually accomplish work. Some people need a lot more. They might need to meet with you 3 or 4 times to get their questions met. Some people really want to start with, asking a lot of questions up front just because they want to get it right. Whereas others, they just want to get going. They just want to get activated on doing their thing. So super important for you to understand how each person really works on your team. Okay. All right. So the best thing for you is to understand that, again, leadership starts from within. And so beginning to understand how you can boost your confidence so you can step into your role so that you are ready for the next role as well, by understanding that, number one, you've got to show yourself self-compassion. If you are talking to yourself in a way that is worse than someone on the street, right? You observe someone on the street being talked to really horribly, and you might be able to say, like, that's terrible. Why would you talk to them like that? But you are saying those same things to you. So as an executive leader, you really do have to give yourself grace. We're going to make mistakes. That's a part of leadership. There are times where we're going to make mistakes, but you have to learn how to release those, how to learn from them, how to prevent from them happening again, but also give yourself the grace to understand that that mistake is going to just lead you into a much better situation, because now you know. Now you know. And mistakes are a part of, and I don't even want to call them mistakes. I really want to call them, opportunities for learning, because that's what it is. Everything that I have done has put me in this situation. And the same thing for you. Everything that you have done or tried, trial and error, has put you into this situation, and you've learned from it. And that's the most important thing, is to take accountability for it and then learn from it, right? So we have to show ourselves some self-compassion as a leader, but it's also important for us to share our wins. I was actually just in a conversation with someone where we were talking, and she said, "I don't even understand, like, how do people get, people that don't have you as a coach, people that aren't in programs, how do they know these things when they are in executive leadership?" And the reality is, most people don't. Most people don't really understand or have the support around them to make it to the next level. And so here's the thing. You have to share your wins, and you have to share your wins on a consistent basis so that it also builds in your confidence, but it also lets people know what you have accomplished. See, as a hard worker, you probably are somebody who has really been just accustomed to working hard. You put your head down, you get the job done, and then you're on to the next thing. So you're checking things off the list, but you're never really taking time to ingest or to really celebrate yourself for the things that you have accomplished. Are you celebrating your team for the things that they have accomplished? Because that's super important to keep up morale. And that's another part of your job as an executive leader, is to keep up morale. So if you're not celebrating your wins, you're not celebrating your team's wins. We're just working. And it's super hard, super hard. That's the one thing that I will tell you of everyone that I've worked with, that sharing your wins is extremely difficult, but it is necessary. So I build that into all of my programs where we do share our wins, right? Because you do have to get accustomed to that, because when you are around other senior leaders, there comes a time almost every week, every 2 weeks, where you have to talk about your department, what's going on with your department. And it's important for you and for them to understand how you fit into the puzzle. And here's the puzzle: the mission of your organization, the mission of your department, what it is that you are doing. You have to then, when you have finished an initiative, you have really elevated something, you changed something, it's important for you to share that so that people understand the impact that you are making in your role. If no one knows your impact, then how do they know that you're doing a great job? How do they know that you're ready for more responsibility? How do they know that you're ready to take your skills to the next level when they're not sure even of what you're accomplishing? So this is super important for you to share your wins. And I love, JR, that you are saying that you are doing better at that, because you know that that is so super important, right? We also want to talk about trusting your intuition, right? Really trusting your intuition. And this is something that I do also see that is a part of, you know, any leader. It's becoming accustomed to understanding that the things that come to you, those downloads that come to you, your intuition that comes to you, that is super important. And I would love to hear how your intuition comes to you in the comments. There are some people where it is just a download, where it comes like once. And if you don't catch it that once, that one time, you might lose it. It might be goosebumps. It might mean that your back gets warm. It might mean that something just comes to you. Okay. And we call that splenic authority in human design, right? And then there also might be, you get those gut feelings. You get those gut feelings and you just know that this is the right thing or this is not the right thing. And then there are other people that really need time to really think about things. They need time for clarity. Okay. We call that emotional authority in human design. So human design is all about understanding how energy works for you as a leader, how it works for you. I am a manifester in human design. And what that means is that my energy is not consistent. You have some people who have energy from the time they get up until the time they go to bed. That is not me. And I know that. So for someone else to say, oh, you got to do this every single day you got to do, that doesn't work for me. I am about what feels right for that specific day, what feels right for this audience, what feels right for a different audience, right? So I am about understanding what each individual needs and each individual day needs. And my ideas, my energy goes in spurts. I say, oh my God, I have this idea. Let me run with it. And that is how my energy flows. And so my energy flows to the things that light me up. And I know that about myself. I am different from other people. You might be different from me, but understanding how your energy works. Okay. The other thing too, when we talk about human design, Manifesting generators are people where their life path is not a straight line. It's very linear, right? They've tried many different things. They are jugglers. They have there are different things that they're into, right? So they could pick up one passion today and then another passion next week, and that's okay because that's how you were designed. Okay? That is how you were designed. So, I will definitely tell you that understanding your human design, which you can also do that on my website, and I will leave the link here as well. But understanding how you were designed is completely going to change how you are as a leader, completely. Okay. So that you can also live in your zone of genius, understanding, you know, not just how your energy flows, but also your strengths that are associated with also with human design as well. Okay. All right. So then we are also going to talk about, you ready? We're going to talk about engaging your network. Super important as a high level leader. A lot of people will say to me that they hate networking. If you are one of those people where networking, like give me a scale of 1 to 10 on how much you like networking, because most people just really don't like it. But let me help you understand what networking is. Networking is getting to know people, asking the right questions, not asking, okay, so what do you do? But you can ask, what is the best part about your job? What really lights you up? What's been your favorite thing that you have worked on in this past year? What's one thing that you have learned about yourself this year? These questions, right? And so I see as some things are coming in, some people say 8, 5, or 6, or a 7. But networking is just understanding, it's getting to know people, getting to know their likes, getting to know what they're interested in, and asking the right questions and not the basic questions that people ask. So now, when you understand what someone is interested in, what their passions are, what's important to them, what's something that lit them up about, something that they've worked on, you understand them in a very different way. And so maybe a year down the road, 6 months down the road, 5 years down the road, you can, if someone says, hey, I am super into learning and development, and then you meet me, you definitely could connect the two of us together, right? Because you know that I do learning and development, right? So that's an example of, it's really not like it becomes difficult when you are caught up in the small talk. How's the weather? What's going on? What do you do? Where are you from? That's painful. So if you have incredible questions to ask, you get a much better experience. And then you just start to meet people. That's it. You start to meet people. And so later on, when you are interested in growing into a different role, maybe you met a regional vice president, maybe you met a general manager, it's then time to say, hey, I was wondering about this particular thing. Did you ever deal with this? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Now you've created a connection through a common experience. And that is what networking is, right? My best experiences and opportunities have come through my network. All right. So let's move into one of the final aspects, which is creating a routine that involves you. Okay. So as a leader, you definitely need to understand that you have to create, and I'm not even going to call it self-care. I'm going to call it divine relaxation. How do you do that as a leader? And that means learning how to disconnect. That means really tapping in. I know one person who is a garden person. She tells me that every morning she goes out to work in her garden. That is divine relaxation for her. For you, it might mean going outside to paint a fence. It might mean reading a book. It might mean calling someone and, talking about 10 years ago, right? Talking about a party. So it's really about, and Lindsay says self-preservation. It is preserving who you are. It's preserving who you are. It is creating sacred time and space around the things that you love moving forward. Okay. Because if every single person gets a part of you, if your job gets all of you, then what do you have left for you? So it's really creating boundaries around your time, your space in a way that can provide you with truly disconnecting from it all to come back to return to who you are. That might mean closing yourself in the basement and watching whatever shows you want to watch with your favorite snacks. But it's super important. For me, it's Reiki. I go to Reiki probably every 2 weeks, if not every week. In addition to that, I turn off my ringer. If I'm doing something, if I'm, with someone, I'm at a concert, or I am, really just maybe talking and having a great conversation with someone, I'm not answering. I'm not answering because I'm preserving the moment. I'm preserving what feels really, really good to me. And that's important for you as well, is how do you preserve what really feels great for you so that you are just with yourself, that you don't have to give pieces of yourself to other people as a leader. Okay. So I did mention before that I have an executive, he's a CEO, where at a certain time, his staff knows that he is all about spending time with his kids at that time. Okay. So important for you to set the tone for other people, because people follow what you do more than they follow what you say, as an example. Okay. All right. So while we are here, any questions that you all have before I jump off, please definitely let me know. But understand that the way that I teach you to approach executive leadership definitely starts from within. It starts from understanding who you are, understanding who you are not. You cannot be like the person next to you. You have to really know who you are, what your strengths are, because that's going to build your confidence in any situation. Okay. Understanding the things that you need to release in order to move forward into a completely different mindset, and understanding what's connected to you having a hard time moving into that different mindset or experience. So really being aware of those things and understanding through emotional intelligence how you manage and navigate your emotions, and then understanding how to manage and navigate change as well. Okay. All right. So thank you all so much for joining me. Lindsay, Nia, JR, love it. Saw Steven on there too. So thank you all so much for joining me. And until the next live, thank you so much. And remember, leadership definitely starts from within. That is your strategy. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.